All right, so it's been a few days. I've been researching like crazy, trying to figure out how to wire this gauge up, and there's 3 wires on this gauge. There's a black, there's a white, and there's an orange. And it seems like the orange is some type of it says 12 volt power source. It says connected directly to the battery. That's what the manual says. And then I saw in one YouTube video that it's basically for memory of the last color setting you had. It has multiple color settings on the gauge. So I don't really care. I'll go ahead and press the button again. I don't feel like running a wire all the way to the battery if I don't have to. So I've been in here piddling around and kind of show you what I have as far as the wiring goes. So I pulled the center console out, flipped this piece over. This is the cigarette lighter. So this wire here, black and green, I ran a tap off of it, and I'm gonna run this wire down along up to where the gauge is gonna go. This wire here, using my voltmeter over there, I found out that it ties to the dimmer on the gauge cluster. So when you dim your lights up and down, it changes power to this, which will dim the cluster, which will dim the boost gauge light up and down along with the gauge cluster lights. So that'll all be in sync using this one here. This one here is solid power all the time, so we don't want to use that. I mean, I guess you could, but I wanted it to work in conjunction with the headlights being on. I only wanted the gauge to turn on when the headlights were on. And this guy right here is your power source for that. And then for ground, I just put I found a spare bolt, and there was a hole there on the pillar. So I just put a connector there, and I'm gonna use that for ground. And that's just the electrical side. So once the pod is mounted and everything's pieced back together in the car, I gotta go under the hood still and connect the vacuum lines, which should be a little easier, but you know, that's its own task. So we'll cover that when I get there, but right now I'm gonna try to put this back together on the interior. Look, I found the blank for my radio. Awesome. Okay, I got the gauge in. I know it's dark in here, but I'm trying to show the lights. Key in. Turn on my lights. These come on. This doesn't come on. I thought I wired it wrong, but when I touch this button, it comes on, but only as long as I'm touching this. Which makes me think that this little pin in here is damaged. So, yeah, I don't know. Also, when I dim these, it makes this brighter. It's hard to do with one hand. Here we go. That's plenty bright like that with the lights fully on, so I'm not sure what's up with that, but I guess if I wanted to get real ghetto, I could just put a piece of something over this to hold it down. But I may get another gauge, I may rig this, because I have to swap all this out again. But it's working electrically. Next is the vacuum side, and I don't know if I'm going to get another one of these or not. I'm going to mess with this, see what I can do. It's supposed to have 7 colors too, I think. I'm only showing blue and green. I think I really jacked it up. Oh well, say that for another day. Okay, so it's been a few days and I think I got this gauge figured out. Turns out the gauge was not bad. This third wire, this orange one, needs to be hooked up to a 12-volt source. If you remember me saying, I think it was for like a memory of what light selection it was on, it's not. It has to be hooked up. I went ahead and ran a temp wire, and sure enough, the gauge lights up and stays lit up. So, let me show you what I'm talking about. Ta-da! Green, blue, red, teal, orange, purple. So that's great. All the colors are working. What I did, so I used, again, this wire for the white. So this wire goes to the white wire on the gauge. This wire going to this green connector is going to feed the orange wire on the gauge. I just kind of have it stabbed in there temporarily as I was trying to test everything before I put it back together. Because in taking it apart to take the gauge out, I broke my A-pillar. See that? Snapped right in half. This plastic is really brittle and sun damaged, so just hanging the weight of the rest of the pillar hanging down, it just cracked in half. So that's awesome. Hopefully it doesn't rattle when I put it back together. But I'm going to finish the wiring and hook up the vacuum lines and check it, and hopefully I'm done with this thing. Here we go. There it is. It's in. It's all wired up. Lights work. Just started the car. I did have to put a screw in here because this thing is broke. So I'll have to find another pillar somewhere down the road. Let's check out the vacuum wiring that I did. I used the T that came with the kit and just placed it right here. So here's the clear line going to the gauge, this line to the fuel pressure regulator, this line to the intake. Now it was hooked up on these solenoids over here, but after doing some research, it seems that I don't really need this. So I went ahead and disconnect this, and I'll pull that off later. But for right now, I'm just gonna leave it in there. But I'm gonna take that off and clean up the, clean up the firewall there a little bit. I think the solenoid, I read one, it's for cold starts, and I read one, it's for hot starts. So either way, I don't really care. Start the car up, babysit it on the gas for a little bit, and then it's good to go. It idles just fine. So that's all in there. The gauge is in there, and I think I'm done. Yeah, so this was a tricky little deal, you know. It took a minute there. A lot of wiring, testing, and stuff. Not really my forte, you know. I'd rather change out like an alternator than have to mess with wiring and gauges and interior pieces, and it's kind of annoying to me. But I didn't have a gauge at all, so now I got a gauge in there, so that's good. And now that that's done, on to the next thing. Not quite sure what that is right now. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, as always, I really do appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.